Hey everyone, welcome to Beyond Battlecreek. I'm Lucas, and today I'm joined by Josiah. Well, today on Beyond Battlecreek, we're going to talk about some things that some of our campuses are up to.
Yeah.
Josiah, it's great to be back with you, my friend.
Absolutely.
Always an honor to sit behind the mic with such a legend like yourself.
I don't know about
and
that.
to be able to learn from you, my friend. And so, man, it's been quite a ride that we've experienced.
Yeah.
And we've seen some really neat things that have kind of played out and transpired. I know in both of our campuses, and just watching what God's been doing as a whole for Battlecreek Church. So, man, I'd love just to hear, Josiah, some things that the downtown campus has been up to, and your staff, and what your volunteers and different ways that you guys have been able to continue to reach out in your community.
Yeah, well, Pastor Lucas, I'm glad to be here with you, and it's always fun when we can get together and talk about life and just what God is doing. It's always a joy to walk alongside you and see what God is doing, not only in your life, but in the life of Battlecreek Church Jinx. And so, yeah, we've had we're walking out of this quarantine season. And well, we just had, 6 campuses, 1 location this past Sunday.
Yeah.
All of our churches were here, and I think that might have been the first time in the history that all of us were here on a Sunday morning. And man, it was so good to be back and worshiping together. Mm. It was so good to see lots of faces from downtown and all around all of our campuses here, and just, doing that. And, downtown, we're doing Go Fresh. And so we'll be handing out some groceries in the next couple weeks, this last week and the next couple weeks. And it's just been so good to see doing that. It's one thing in quarantine, we're trying to do online and do different things, but be able to get out in the community and meet a felt need and really help the people around us has been, it's just a joy. Mm-hmm. And I know that we've talked about this, just the best part of our job is the outreach of getting to meet with people in and around our community and just sharing the love of Christ, not so much through words, but through action.
Absolutely.
And just saying, hey, we love you so much. We want to get behind you. We want to be able to give you something that will benefit your life and something that will help you in the season that you're walking through, and be able to show the love of Christ through that. Mm-hmm. And so that's been awesome, man. I've been seeing Jinx been doing, talk to us a little bit about that flamingoed, or what are you guys calling it?
We call it getting flocked.
Flocked, so, there you go.
We've had some fun, and as you're talking about, man, when we started coming out of this quarantine and our staff started getting together again to meet in person and not over Zoom calls anymore, we just sat down and we said, what are some different ways that we can reach out to some of our members of our campus? And so the flamingo idea was birthed out of that idea. And man, we really use it to spotlight what we would call some of our MVPs.
Absolutely.
As far as our volunteer base at our campus. And we have so many families and so many couples that serve week in and week out, and that just, they are the magic that makes Battlecreek Jinx what it is, and so we want to highlight them and just brag on them during this time. And so that's been a lot of fun. We'll take those flamingos out and position them in their yard, and then we have a sign that says Battlecreek Jinx loves you, and man, that's such a true statement that we truly do love these families. And so that's been fun to spotlight them every week. And then we have something, man, we call Sidewalk Chalk Wednesday.
Okay.
And we get lots of looks as we're pulling into neighborhoods, pulling in with our chalk. But it's been fun. It's really geared towards our preschool and elementary families, and it's fun to take Pastor Michael and Pastor Rosie along for those rides, and to watch as kids just light up when they see their leaders come on and start doing chalk. And just a couple days ago, we were going up to a house, and Rosie was walking up, and one of her preschool kids walks out and just lights up and screams Miss Rosie, and she runs up and gives her a big hug. And I mean, that moment right there was worth all of the time we spent sweating out in that heat, trying to decorate people's sidewalks. And it just trying to build some momentum as we get going.
Absolutely.
And get back getting ready to meet on our campuses. And like you said, man, it's been such an amazing journey so far, getting to meet at the Battlecreek Broken Arrow campus and watching all 6 campuses come together for the first time in history, and being able to worship, not even just alongside our Jinx people, but along our downtown people and all of our amazing campuses. It's just been such a fun ride. And, I think one thing for our team is the Lord has given us some scripture that we've kind of held on to, man.
Absolutely.
Isaiah 43:19 was a verse that we really latched on to when we were launching the campus.
Yeah.
And I think you'd agree with me, Josiah. It feels like we're relaunching all of our campuses right now.
Yeah.
And I love what the prophet has to say. He says, "For I am about to do something new. See, I have already begun. Do you not see it? I will make a pathway through the wilderness, and I will create rivers in the dry wasteland."
Yeah.
And man, that is my prayer for downtown. That is my prayer for all of our campus. That's my prayer for Jinx campus, that, man, God is about to do something new in our midst. And I'm so excited to watch as God's opening up doors. We're partnering with Jinx schools, and we're getting to serve lunches each week through the month of June. And they've already opened up the calendar for us to come and partner with them in the month of July. And so it's a lot of fun. And like you said, man, the Go Fresh opportunity is an incredible opportunity that we're being able to tag team alongside our missions team, which your wife, Delmy, is just doing a phenomenal job organizing all of that, man. We're so blessed to have her. And so it's a really neat season, man. And I know God's just working and getting us ready for a new time in which we're going to continue to reach people with the gospel.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And just, want to highlight, the Jinx staff and also the downtown staff, man. Our team's just been working their tails off, and really just not because they need to, but just their passion for people to know Christ, and their passion to help people know God, find freedom, discover your purpose and make a global difference. I mean, we say that around here, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
Like, they're just on it all the time because they really believe in taking people in those doing those four things. And I just want to say, man, it's awesome to see what your staff is doing. And we're excited, and you always push us to do a little bit more. And so we're just thankful for you guys and the Jinx staff. And we know God's, as we're already launching and resetting, we're in this series Reset. That's kind of the talk about that. But hey, I know you talked a little bit about, all of us being here. And I know for you, your ministry at Battlecreek Church kind of started here. And so if you would, or maybe even a little bit of background of, hey, how did you get here, in the sense of what other positions or churches you served at before you got here, and how has those maybe helped you get to Battlecreek Church? And here, Pastor Lucas was our high school pastor here at the Broken Arrow campus, how that kind of helped you transition to becoming the campus pastor, and kind of maybe talking a little bit about that, and we can kind of go a little bit back and forth about that.
Absolutely.
But
yeah. I'll tell you my story, and then I'd love to hear your story as well, Josiah. So, my story of coming here to Battlecreek is very funny. It's very humorous. Back then, you and I worked at a church called the Church At. For some of our listeners, maybe that's new news to them that have joined the church recently. But yes, I had been hired under a gentleman named Spencer Bernard, who was leading the student ministry at that time. And I was working previously at a church here in Broken Arrow as a student pastor. And he had asked me to come and get lunch with him at McAllister's. And I had no clue who this guy was, but I knew he was the leader of student ministry at the Church At, so I knew that was a big deal. And so I was thrilled to be able to get lunch with him, just learn from him. And he had told me that he wanted to tell me about their summer camp that they had coming up, and they wanted to invite our student ministry to come and be a part of their student camp for the summer. And so I came under the assumption that, okay, I'm going to get a camp spill and maybe an opportunity for our students to come along and to be a part of an incredible camp that I knew the Church At would be putting on. And so when I sat down with Spencer Bernard, he looked at me, he said, "You know what, Lucas, I forgot all of the camp material, but can I tell you the real reason why I invited you to this lunch?" and knowing Spencer now, like, it makes perfect sense that he was just using this to be able to have this conversation with me. And we began to laugh, and he said, "You know what, man, I really would like to talk to you about coming on as our high school pastor," as you said. And it was just such a neat ride to be able to be under his leadership and to be able to walk through that first year together there in student ministry. And then Pastor Sean Mills was my leader, and learned so much underneath his leadership, and walking through student ministry and dodgeball and extravaganza and fall free for all and back to school bash with a bingo machine and all those fun things that we were able to be a part of, man. And it was just such an incredible ride as student pastor here at the Battlecreek Broken Arrow campus. And I'll never forget, I think some of the things that made it most special to me were the volunteers that we had here at this Broken Arrow campus, as they were just absolutely amazing, all in student ministry volunteers. And some of the relationships I was able to build with them still are going to this day.
That's
and
awesome.
it makes it fun when we come back together like we're able to on Sundays, and to be able to see them and to love on them and just to be encouraged by them. It's just such an amazing thing to see them still faithfully serving and all those relationships you make with students and that I still have to this day. It's just such a great journey. And so I was here for the high school pastor for student ministry for almost 3.5 years. And then the Lord began stirring in my heart something different. And about that time was when the talk began about the Jinx campus. And, I'm kind of hard-headed. It took 2 no's, and then I finally got 1 yes, where they told me that I could come and be a part of it. But I just knew that this was kind of the next step that God had for me as far as being able to step into this role as campus pastor.
And it was a kind of a crazy event because our Jinx campus we were waiting for like 3 other churches to move so we can move in.
There was a lot of pieces
that were moving. And, and I remember that.
And then on top of that, my wife was pregnant with our third baby. We had our vision night, and 2 nights before our vision night, she gave birth to our 3rd child, Reese. And so we were so afraid that we weren't all going to be able to be a part of that night because that was so important to us. And so I never forget, as Pastor Alex had me come up and began kind of sharing my vision, I began talking about my family, and I introduced each of my girls. And as I introduced Reese, who was there that night, I introduced her as a 3-day-old child. And so that was just some special times, man.
That's awesome.
And God has been good and faithful as we've been able to transition to this new role, and just super excited about the days ahead as far as being a part of Battlecreek Church.
What is one thing that you can kind of go to, or that you said, hey, student ministry really prepared me, or student ministry have taken this idea or thought and really just done it at the campus pastor level that's just kind of the same, that's really helped me to kind of jump into my role, or kind of just like, hey, help you in that transition?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So, I think the drive weekly to go and get students has definitely been very helpful as far as launching a campus. And, you mentioned this earlier, Josiah, some of our favorite parts of this role of being campus pastors is the outreach, right? Is getting out into the community and meeting new people. And so I think I really learned a lot about that sitting under the leadership of some great leaders on the student team, and their constant drive for us to be able to be out on our schools and in the communities, trying to connect with students and volunteers. And so I'd say that's definitely translated very well as far as trying to be creative and just being a part of our community.
Absolutely.
And not just being in the building, but being outside the building, and that being our focus as leaders of our campuses.
Yeah. And if you know Pastor Lucas, we call him around here the future mayor of Jinx. He is always out doing something and reaching people. And man, it's like I said, I've always looked to you to see what the next move I should be doing is and how I should be doing it. And but man, it's been awesome to see just God kind of what He's done. I got here kind of as you were, we were on the same team for a little bit as you transitioned to Jinx, and just to see how God has transitioned you and moved you and positioned you in a posture to just really grow a campus is just phenomenal.
And we had a lot of fun running camps, didn't we?
Yeah.
We ran many student camps together.
Lots of fun.
Yes, sir.
Lots of fun.
Yes, sir. So Josiah, tell me, I'd love to hear about your journey, man, and to hear kind of how God has taught you and equipped you along the way, because, like myself, you started in a different role and God has kind of positioned you to be the leader of the downtown campus.
Yeah, it's been a ride. That's for sure. And you're right. We started at a church called The Church At. And actually how I got to the church is very ironic, and I don't even know if many people know this story, but I came to Tulsa to go to ORU to finish school, and I was in grad school, and there was a job fair. And so one thing about as I was getting my master's in business administration, my MBA, every week you have a presentation. So I had to come to class in a suit and a tie every week. And if you know me, I don't like wearing suits at all. But one time there was a job fair, and if you've been around the church out or Battlecreek, Pastor Rob Dunning was there, and he's out there. If you know Pastor Rob, you can just assume he was doing something. He was just handing things out. I don't know what he was doing, but
the legend himself.
Anyway, he catches my attention, and he's like, I'm telling him, like, I'm trying to get married to Delmy, and I'm trying to find out how to pay for a wedding, and he's like, oh, we got a job for you. And I was like, knowing Rob now, I'm thinking like, he probably didn't have a job. Like, he had no idea. He's probably just saying that to every person walking by, every kid walking by. He's probably telling them that they'll be like, I want to be a chef. And he's probably like, I got a job for you. I got you right now. You can lead volunteers to cook popsicles, and we can, who knows what. And so he gave me, and later that evening or that week, I was talking to Delmy. I said, hey, I think I'm going to apply. And so I started applying, and I never finished the application. Mm-hmm. I think I don't know if I got it. I don't know. It was just a weird timing. I think it was right before fall break. And so I know I stopped because it was the next question was, how did you come to know Jesus? And I said, that's way too long. I'm going to stop for the day before I have to write that.
Sure.
And the next day or the day after, I got a call from people here at Battlecreek or Church At, and said, hey, we would like to come in. And I said, well, that must be a God thing, because I didn't even finish this thing.
Wow.
And I came in, and I got the job. My first day, I served as the administrative assistant to Pastor Sean Mills, who was doing a lot of stuff in our Next Gen Ministries and the Broken Arrow campus. He said, hey, just come this day. We could do this thing called TC Toys. It'll be fun. And I'm thinking like, all right, that'd be sweet. Like, I'm thinking like it's a Sunday morning thing. Sure. And I said, all right, what time should I get there? And he's like, just get here about 7. And I was like, oh, great. Like, 7 to 1. And, well, if you've been around here, TC Toys doesn't let up till midnight.
Right.
So I was here from 6 to midnight knowing nobody. Probably not the best day to start, because I just was wandering around.
Yes.
But that's how I started. I was the admin for Pastor Sean Mills, and man, he impacted my life and just really helped me in that time to kind of see what God was calling me to. My background was business administration and education wise, and I thought that's what I wanted to do, and eventually wanted to do ministry. And so I worked here for about 8 to 10 months. We had camps, and one of my very fond memories that I think of when I think of Pastor Lucas is I got here in January. We had Christmas break, and we were going to visit Delmy's family. So I came back January 1, and really that was my training initial. In March, I just remember we, Pastor Lucas and Pastor Josh Ward at that time, we came out on a Monday it was a day off, and we were just pounding fences into the front grass.
Yes.
Broken Arrow. Do you remember?
Yes, I do. And it was muddy.
Yeah, it was terrible. And they were like, all right, here we go. And if you know me, I'm a scrawny kid, and Pastor Lucas is nothing but nothing. Scrawny is not in his vocabulary. So we're driving posts into the ground. And but man, it was such a good time. We just had so much fun.
For sure.
And we just knew that guy was doing
such great
something.
memories.
It was for dodgeball, I think.
Yeah.
And so I transitioned to they called me the business manager, as I needed a real job to get married and support my family. And so Pastor Sean really just said, hey, man, I would love for you to be a student pastor or on my team somehow, but I know this is kind of the place for you. And so I want to, and I served under Pastor Dean Johnson for a great couple years, and that was phenomenal, and ran finance for a while, and then eventually opened that up and led what they called the operations team here, which was, facilities and all kinds of different elements to the operations and business side to the church. And then about a year ago, actually, to this day, is kind of when we started to really consider going to downtown.
Yeah.
Pastor Matt had let the church know, and so eventually I had told, I had said no a couple of times. Like, no, I'm doing okay here.
Sure.
One time, Mr. Babbitt, who I was working for at the time here, he just said, hey, you really need to go home and think about this. I really feel God. And we did, and we just felt like this was the way, and so we got to downtown.
Wow.
July 1st was my first day. And at downtown. I found out at kids camp, which would have been this
incredible.
week. And so
That's
it's
incredible.
crazy how it's gone so fast.
What an amazing story, man.
Yeah.
So are there some things that maybe you've, as you asked me, that you picked up along the way that have really helped you in this new role of leading your staff, or, developing, that community there at the downtown campus that I know is just thriving and doing so well under your leadership?
Yeah. I struggled a lot when I got there with just the insecurity, and I also think that the enemy played into that of just, I'm young, I didn't have much experience. My family is in ministry, and so all I've known is ministry. But I hadn't, worked, at a job with it. And that's what we did with, just like you, as you grew up. And so I knew ministry, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. And so I was always nervous about just, with my age, how are people going to think of that? But I always was grounded with, one of the benefits that I've had coming into this role is the support from Battlecreek Church, just from our leadership, from pastor all the way down to our, what we call the leadership team and the executive team. And they've just really poured into me and supported me and believed in me and gave me the confidence. And then to spend the week at camp, youth camp, student camp with you and Pastor Keith and Pastor Jeff, Pastor Matt, Pastor Clint, Pastor Steve, y'all really gave me the confidence to go and lead, and really just gave me God's ordained you to do this. You need to go do it. And so one thing that has helped me, and really, as I've positioned myself into this, is helping provide confidence to the people around me to say, hey, God's ordained you to do this, so we need to do it. As volunteers come in and they're just, I think a lot of times as a volunteer, or as you're thinking about jumping in, you don't really know how or what to expect, and just believing, hey, we believe here, God's made you this way to serve in this place. For sure. To make a difference. Yeah. Discover your purpose. And I just think that it's helped me to help people do that. And the other thing is, and just going off of honestly what Jinx has done, and how we ran student ministry, how we run student ministry, is just, we grow by being in the community. Something that always sticks to me is when I first got here, Pastor Lucas, if you know him, he's a gym rat. Every day at 3:45, he goes to the gym, or he was going to the gym at student ministry. And I just thought, well, that's cool. But what people didn't know is that he had a group of students, of high schoolers, who would meet him there every day. 7 guys, yeah. And he would pour into their life and walk around and walk with them in life. And it was just so cool to just think like, hey, ministry doesn't really happen inside these doors. And so from an early time, I just, remember it and just think that. And so now, I try to get into the community. We try as a staff to get in there. And so that's been one of the things that I think has really impacted me, especially from you and the way you do things, and just of saying like, man, find where people are at. Those high school boys were in football players, and they were in the gym, and that's where they wanted to be. And so it was like, you were not doing it because you loved it. That's one part, but you did it because they were going to be there, and you can meet them and you could walk through them. And so it was just, it changed my mentality of how to do that kind of ministry. So that was one of the things that I've carried and continue to do to this day. Sure.
I think it's important just to note, man, that, like you said, man, the Lord's calling is on your life. And it's been a joy to watch how God has used you and Delmy in the downtown campus. And man, like you said, it's almost been a year of your leadership there. And man, I just honor you today and thank you for your friendship and the ability to lead alongside you is such a joy, man. And just honor all of our fellow campus pastors today, man. We serve on the best team. Just, talking about being able to do life together in the trenches and learning from each other and gathering that support. I mean, I could not think of a better team to be on. So man, I honor Pastor Keith, Pastor Jeff, Pastor Matt, Pastor Clint, everyone that we get to serve alongside. It's just such an incredible to journey. And man, you're right. We are supported by an incredible support team. And starting from the top, from Pastor Alex and his leadership in our lives. And then, the influence now that we get with Pastor Kurt, and man, it's just such a special place to be, and to be able to be a part of such amazing communities. We're surrounded by amazing people, like at our downtown campus, at our Jinx campus, and people we get to do life with, man. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah, it really is. And, I tell a lot of people this, and just, I wouldn't be where I'm at today without those people.
Yes.
You know, without Mr. Babb pushing me and really encouraging me and developing me and leading me, and even people to, you know, on our leadership team all across it, from, you know, Randall to Shannon to Rachel to Pastor Clint and Pastor Matt Ward, like just them trusting and pouring into us as they do, and really believing in Pastor Kurt now as he's stepping into this role, and really all the way to the top of Pastor Alex, really believing and just saying, hey, I believe in what y'all are doing, go do it. And so it's encouraging to be here, and it's encouraging for the people, I hope, at Battlecreek Church to know that their leadership is so far behind, so behind us in what we're doing. For sure. And so that's been an honor. And I like you said, I think our transitions through Battlecreek Church is just a sign of just God's favor on your life and on my life, but also on our church, of just helping develop people and helping develop leaders and just positioning them in places for God to use them. For sure. And so, man, it's been awesome to just kind of be here with you. And it's awesome just to come around and just talk about it. Absolutely. You know, I really hadn't talked a whole ton about this. And
so I want to ask you one more question before we hop off here today. And this is the one everyone really wants to know. Okay. So I know you said you're a graduate from ORU. Yeah. And so you've been in Oklahoma for a little while. Yes. I know this is not where you grew up, but the question I'm dying to hear your answer to, Josiah, and you need to be really careful how you answer this, is who are you picking? Oklahoma State University or the University of Oklahoma? Oh man, this is a tough one, you know, because there's lots. And if you answer it wrong, I'm going to correct you and help to lead you. I'm sure in the path of righteousness. You know, when I got here early on, you know, I will say I was. I've never been an OU fan, and not that I was not an OU fan. Part of it is too, I love to just make Pastor Mark Cruz really mad. And if you know Pastor Mark, it's a fun thing to do. He just walks around saying boomer. Like he just there's no prompt. It's just, he just assumes he should say that. And so I just really like to bother him about it. Absolutely. But I will say my cousin has just went to OSU the last 2 years, and so we've prompted to go to more games. Right. And so I think I would lean more towards OSU. I like that OU is Jordan, and if someone's going to invite me to an OU game, I'll wear an OU shirt, and I'm going to go to the OU game. There's no doubt in my mind. You want to take me, and this is me. If you're trying to say, hey, I'm going to take you, go ahead. I will go with you. I will buy you a hot dog. But I would say, you know, and I also think I'm an underdog fan. So every time OSU fan or plays, usually OSU's the underdog. It's true. So I'm usually rooting for them because it's just like, it's very true. They need the win. For sure. But I will say this, since I moved to Oklahoma, I'm an Oklahoma fan if they're playing anybody else. Okay. If that makes sense. That's respectable. It's like, especially the SEC. Sure. Anybody in the SEC, you got to root against them. I'm hoping they root against them. And I grew up on the West Coast, and so if my bias is that the West Coast never gets enough credit. And yeah, maybe they're not that good, but they never get enough credit. So I'm always West Coast versus the East Coast, but really it's the SEC. For sure. My dad used to say, I played golf growing up, and he said, you know, if you only got scholarships from SEC school, I wouldn't pay for you to go there. I wouldn't support you at all. That's good. So you either go somewhere else. Pretty strong stance there. But you're not going to SEC school. Yes, that's really good. But anyways, so yeah. And you, do you have an answer? So, OU, right? As a dad, I'll have that same kind of response to my kids. If they ever go to OU, I'll tell them I'm not paying a dime for it. So, you know, I'm definitely OSU fan. I think God built me to be that with my red oranges hair. You know, and man, I think, you know, you dive back into scripture and you can see, man, like it's biblical to be an OSU fan rather than an OU fan, you know, because it says this, and I'm just going to let you finish this off for me. He said, he leads me beside green pastures. No, the other translation, bro. Still waters. Yes, it does green pasture, but at least we find still waters. And I don't see anywhere in the Bible where it talks anything about the city of Norman. Matter of fact, if you look in the book of Isaiah, the prophet says 3 times, okay? So if you don't get the point the first time, he's going to say it 3 times for you. He says, no sooner, no sooner, no sooner. And so, you know, I just wanted to put that word out there for all of our people kind of on the struggle bus. You caught me off guard there. I didn't know where we were going, but that must be a thing they teach you. Yes, it's something that you learned the first day of class. Here's in the handbook why God ordained OSU. Correct. Yeah, because like you said, man, we are the underdog most of the time, and so you got to have something to pull for. That absolutely. That is really funny. Absolutely. That is awesome, man.
Yes.
Always a good laugh.
Yes. And,
always a good
and
laugh.
I will say, OU fans are a little more. They want to let you know they're an OU fan.
For
little
sure.
more than OSU fans. And so I think that's also part of why I would just, like I said, if they're playing anybody else, they're playing Alabama, I'm probably rooting. I'm rooting for OU, but it is funny just to get under some people's nerves and just talk about it.
Yep, for sure, for sure.
But it is good.
Yes,
it's really good. So, thanks, Pastor Lucas. I'm glad we
thank
got
you,
to hang
Josiah.
out today.
Amen, brother. Thank you, sir.
It's such a blessing. It really is. Like I said, to serve along you guys and your friendship and your mentorship. And I love you, Delmy. Loves you guys, and we're just thankful for it.
Yes, well, we love you guys, man. And before we hop off, let's just take a moment, honor our staff teams. Like you said, man, just before, last thing we do, man, we love Jinx staff. I couldn't do what we're able to do without each and every one of you. Thank you for what you do and for your passion that you bring to the table each and every week to reach people for the kingdom.
Yeah, and same to downtown. I mean, I tell this to anybody. My transition was easy because of them. They know they don't need me. They know what they're doing. The God has put them in that position. They've been there a long time. They know how to do it. Pastor Ryan, Pastor Mark, Lauren, Abby, and Bailey now, and our new staff, Maria. Like they're just good at what they do, and just like you. And so thankful for them, and thankful for our volunteers in our church of just jumping in and not, meeting the need whenever there is.
Yes. Yes. Well, thanks, Josiah. It's been fun, bro.
It's been awesome, man. Hopefully we can do this again soon.
Yes, sir. Well, thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Beyond Battlecreek. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you would subscribe to keep up with everything going on here at Battlecreek Church. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and we can't wait to see you next week.